inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. I mean, she made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Wednesday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark in for Blue tonight here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM with JJ LaSelva. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us on a Wednesday evening that has the Jacksonville Jaguar general manager search front and center. The second round of interviews, or the finalist interviews, began today. I know the Jaguars sent out via social media that Josh Williams, the director of scouting and pro personnel for the San Francisco 49ers, was the first one in today. That interview concluded earlier this afternoon. There is a belief that Ian Cunningham, that interview is probably going on right now. And then John Eric Sullivan of Green Bay, James Gladstone of the LA Rams, and of course Ethan Waugh, the interim general manager here in Jacksonville. The other finalists will interview tomorrow and Friday, with a decision most likely coming Friday evening, but certainly Saturday morning or Sunday at the absolute latest. And I guess whoever they name as the GM will come to Jacksonville, sign their contract, and then get on an airplane. Because a week from today, the Jaguars are due up in Indianapolis for the scouting combine. In fact, a week from yesterday, we're inside of a week away till the festivities getting underway with the NFL scouting combine. So I want to spend some time on the Jaguar GM search. I think some of it is coming into focus a little bit. I want to give you some thoughts there. Guest lineup tonight looks like this. Gene Fournette of the Florida Times-Union, Jacksonville.com. Well, he's covered the Jaguars since day one here in Jacksonville, and we'll have Gene on coming up in about 15 minutes, a little under that, to just talk about everything that's transpired in the last month, from the Liam Cohen hire to the Tony Baselli hire to the dismissals of both Doug Peterson and Trent Baalke, to the coaching staff being assembled, to the ongoing GM search. It has been a wild 6-week period. So Gene Fournette of the Florida Times-Union and Jacksonville.com joins me in less than 15 minutes. And at the top of the 7 o'clock hour, Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com over in Gainesville, as the Gator basketball team, another dominant performance last night, 23-3, ranked number 2 in America, are a projected number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. The best Gator basketball team they've had, certainly dating back to 2016 and 2017, but you probably got to go back to 2013, 2014 to find a Gator basketball team this complete. So we'll talk with Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com, coming up at the top of the 7 o'clock hour. As always, Jacksonville, we appreciate you spending part of your Wednesday evening with us every night here on Hacker After Dark. We do kick it off with a big deal of the night, and JJ LaSelva. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal? No big deal. It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
All right, 5 finalists for the Jaguar GM spot. The interviews, the second round of interviews began today. Again, Josh Williams of San Francisco, the first to interview. The Jaguars made that, basically announced that on social media, that his interview conducted earlier this afternoon. Rumor has it that Ian Cunningham is in town tonight. One would assume that John Eric Sullivan of Green Bay and James Gladstone are probably tomorrow, I would guess. And then Ethan Waugh, the in-house candidate, would probably be on Friday, would be my assumption. And then after all 5 interviews take place, Shad Khan, Liam Cohen, potentially Tony Khan, Mark Lamping, Tony Baselli will all make their decision, or Shad Khan will make his decision with input from everybody else, and we will go from there. A couple of things, though, and we've talked about this a lot when it comes to this GM search, a couple of things to point out. I think most people listening, most people hearing me right now are on the belief that it's either Ian Cunningham or James Gladstone. I agree with you, with the one caveat being, and I said this last week, if you give me Gladstone, Cunningham, and Ethan Waugh, I will take those three. I will give you the field, and I'll feel pretty good about where I stand. I still believe that. I still believe it will be Ian Cunningham, James Gladstone, or Ethan Waugh. I'm more comfortable now saying it probably won't be Ethan Waugh, and I haven't been told anything. Truthfully, I haven't. It's just my interpretation, my reading the tea leaves, reading the room, if you will. I believe, and I could be dead wrong. And you know what? If I'm dead wrong, it won't be the first time, and it probably won't be the last. So take this for what it is. But my feeling right now on the 19th day of February at 6:07 Eastern Standard Time is that either Ian Cunningham or James Gladstone is going to be the next general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Both guys have interesting traits and connections to this job. Ian Cunningham shares an agent with Liam Cohen. That's probably an important deal. James Gladstone has a lot more connections. And I know a lot of people have talked about this, and it's something that we brought up, I guess, last week. Now, truth be told, I had no idea who James Gladstone was 3 weeks ago. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I am, a James Gladstone, just encyclopedia of knowledge, because I'm not. I found out, like most of you, who James Gladstone was when he got on the initial list of GM candidates. But in talking to people out in Los Angeles, doing some due diligence, right, some investigative work, and also it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure a lot of this out. James Gladstone worked in L.A. when Liam Cohen was in L.A. Liam Cohen brings in Anthony Campanile, who worked for Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. Matt LaFleur and Liam Cohen come off the Sean McVay tree. Liam Cohen hires Grant Udinski, the offensive coordinator, who worked with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. Liam Cohen and Kevin O'Connell know each other from the Sean McVay tree. So, from the Los Angeles Rams' point of view, Grant Udinski has ties to McVay because of Kevin O'Connell. Anthony Campanile has ties to McVay because he worked for Matt LaFleur. Liam Cohen certainly has ties to McVay because he worked for Sean McVay in L.A. And James Gladstone has ties to Sean McVay because he's been with McVay for the last handful of years. That's a lot of interesting things to digest. Also, and I like what Frangie brought up earlier, I'll give him credit listening to his show on the drive in, James Gladstone has kind of worked in a scenario where the head coach kind of has a big say in what goes on, Sean McVay in L.A., whereas Ian Cunningham has worked in a situation in Chicago that's more GM-centric. The GM kind of has the final word instead of the head coach. Again, translation, Gladstone may be a tad more comfortable if Liam Cohen gets the final word than maybe an Ian Cunningham would. So if you had to pin me down right now, or if I had to put 50 matchsticks in on the table, I'd say that James Gladstone is the leader in the clubhouse. Does that mean he gets the job? No. Because I'm not exactly sure Anthony Campanile had the job coming into the second round of interviews for defensive coordinator. I think Campanile came in here and blew them out of the water and got the job after the in-person interview. Now, Josh Williams today or John Eric Sullivan tomorrow could come in here and blow them out of the water. And then everything I just said for the last 3 minutes, you can kind of evaporate. But if what I believe happens, I do believe it's a two-horse race between Ian Cunningham and James Gladstone. I would say I'm 55-45 of the opinion that James Gladstone will be the next general manager here in Jacksonville. And why is this GM job so coveted, even though the Jaguar general manager is not necessarily going to get the final say? Liam Cohen will, reportedly. I talked about this on my Awaken 180 numbers video earlier today on the social media platform, man. This Jaguar team, this youth on this team. You realize Trevor Lawrence is still among the top 10 of the youngest starting quarterbacks in the league coming into 2025? 24 players last year had 1,000 yards receiving. Brian Thomas Jr. was one of those. In fact, he was the third youngest of those 24. And on the defensive side of the ball, 17 guys had 10 or more quarterback sacks in 2024. Trayvon Walker was the second youngest among those 17 to have double-digit sacks. Not to mention the fact you get 10 draft picks, 6 in the top 125. You have a bunch of salary cap room, potentially even more with contract restructurings or releases. The Jaguar GM job is a good job. And that's why you see a lot of highly respected candidates that interviewed in the initial round of interviews, and the 5 finalists are all highly respected around the league. And whoever the Jaguars hire, they're going to hire an up-and-comer in the business or a guy that's been established at a winning culture in the business, like Sullivan in Green Bay, Williams in San Francisco. Ian Cunningham has worked in Philadelphia and Baltimore. And then, of course, James Gladstone with the LA Rams. Coveted job, young roster, many draft picks, cap room. It could be a very fun next couple of weeks and months in the offseason here for the Jaguars, as if you haven't been entertained in the last 6 weeks with what's already transpired. Last piece to the puzzle is the GM. Final interviews began today. They'll run through Friday. I'm of the opinion it'll happen this weekend. And if you had to pin me down right now, I'd say James Gladstone is at least my leader in the clubhouse to be the next general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 641-1010 on the text line, designed by Lifetime Enclosures. Your thoughts always welcome. Here on a Wednesday night edition of Hacker After Dark, we are in for the vacationing Rick Ballou. Coming up next, my buddy Gene Fournette of the Florida Times-Union, Jacksonville.com. Let's talk about the GM search. Let's talk about Liam Cohen. Let's talk about the coordinators. Let's talk Tony Boselli. Everything that has gone on for the last 6 weeks here in Jacksonville and everything we expect to happen in the next couple of days. We'll do a deep dive into all of it with Gene Fournette of the Times-Union. He's next. Wednesday night, Northeast Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Here's another classic Florida Gator moment.
Tebow straight ahead into the end zone, and the Gators have put this one on ice.
1010XL, home of the Florida Gators.
David Lane here, and once again, I'm happy to share news of my success with back and knee surgeries at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist. Whatever it is that's bothering you, take it from me. Simply set an appointment today at Southeast Orthopedic Specialist and let them help you get back to normal life. I'm certainly glad I did.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When pests invade your home or business, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, they'll show up for you and eliminate pests quicker, just like they did at my house, because they care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a pest problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. That's right, Terminix it.
What's happening, folks? E.T. here, and get out of the house and crush those New Year's resolutions on the beautiful trails of Clay County. With perfect weather, now's the time to explore Jennings State Forest, Mike Rose Gold Head State Park, and Belmore State Forest. And after your hike, refuel at one of Clay's local favorites, like Dalton's Sports Grill or the Corner Pocket. Clay is my home, so I can promise you my people will take care of you. Trust me, just visit exploreclay.com and share those adventures at #ExploreClay.
This is Daytona, the awe-inspiring spectacle of Supercross, and the most challenging course to witness the air-catching, adrenaline-pumping, heart-pounding action unlike any other race in Florida. Daytona Supercross. The biggest names battle it out under the lights at the World Center of Racing. Don't miss it. The gate drops Saturday, March 1st. Secure your tickets and trackside access today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
I'm Hayes Carline, and I'll give you glimpses of future NFL stars and who could be a good fit here in Jacksonville. Listen for Combine Commentary with Carline during the Frangie Show on 1010XL, brought to you by Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
When the heat's on high or the chill is too much, who you gonna call?
Cool Cats Heating and Cooling is locally owned and operated with a perfect touch. You'll keep your home just right, day or night. AC to heating, don't take a beating. Call the coolest cats in town. With a 5-star Google rating, they're your neighbors, ready to help. So get your paw of approval from Cool Cats Heating and Cooling, the coolest cats in town. CoolCatsJacks.com.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too. From Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
When you head out for a night with friends or going to the big game, don't forget the best game plan to win the night is to designate a driver and guarantee a safe ride home. Hydrating between buds is the best play you can make. Bud Light, reminding all to drink wiser.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
New year, new club. This is Joe C., and I'm proud to be a member of Southampton. And with the popularity of golf, getting a tee time is tough. But with membership comes member privileges. Enjoy clubhouse dining, expanded practice area, focusing on all parts of your game. And right now, you can join with an annual commitment and get a $1,000 discount, plus $500 of Pro Shop credit. All the details are online at golfsouthampton.com or call 287-PLAY and make a tee time today at the Golf Club of Southampton.
Mia O'Brien here for Pro Jacks Roofing. Here at the Superstation, we talk a lot about pros. Pro football, pro baseball, pro basketball, pro sports. But if you want a true pro when it comes to your roof, you should call Mike with Pro Jacks Roofing. Mike's been in the roofing biz for well over 25 years, and when you call, you don't get a recording, you get Mike himself. Find Mike's cell on ProJacksRoofingFL.com. That's ProJacksRoofingFL.com. Don't rely on the third string option. Call in the starter with Mike at Pro Jacks Roofing.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit DreamfindersHomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to DreamfindersHomes.com for more details.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Boy, what a time it is to be a Jacksonville Jaguar fan and a guy that covers them in the media, quite frankly. It has been crazy for the last month. A new head coach, a new staff, a new EVP of football operations, and a soon-to-be new general manager. Let's talk about all of it with a guy that's covered the Jaguars since day one. That's my buddy Gene Fournette of the Florida Times-Union, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Gene, how we doing?
Doing well on this rainy day, but since I spent 14 hours of yard work on Friday and Saturday cleaning up my yard, I'm glad for the rain.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's a nice change. The heat will get here soon enough. And look, it's been hot when it comes to Jaguar news, man. I mean, you've been here since day one. How would you assess the last month? One of the crazier months the Jaguars have ever had.
Yeah. Listen, it's not like the Jaguars haven't done coaching changes and general manager changes before, but it's a little bit more intense, I would say now, for a couple reasons. Number one, the disappointment of the past couple of years, just not getting back to the playoffs, and just last year, in my opinion, being the most disappointing season in franchise history, given what the expectations were and given what the actual final results of a 4-13 record were. I just can't recall another season that was more disappointing, and there was a bigger gap between what the expectations were and the results than in 2024. So here we are now, and they've gotten themselves an offensive-minded coach for Trevor and Liam Cohen, and they're in the process. Started their in fact, as we speak right now, they're in their first interview with their first of 5 GM candidates, which will go on through Friday, and I'm sure by Friday night or Saturday morning, we will find out who the new GM is.
And we'll talk about that GM search in a moment, but let's obviously begin with Liam Cohen. It was weird the way it happened, and the process certainly wasn't the cleanest process, but at the end of the day, boy, it appears on the surface, Gene, the Jaguars might have gotten themselves a good one.
Well, yeah, yes and no. Let me preface this by saying every time the Jaguars hire a new head coach, there's always excitement in the air, and everybody feels like it's a fresh start. So the optimism is there, just like it is for a couple that gets married and goes on a honeymoon, right? Same thing. That doesn't. No, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Liam Cohen is going to hit it out of the park. We don't know if he's going to hit it out of the park. A lot of people like the hire because he's an offensive-minded coach who did wonders with Baker Mayfield, and people think he will do the same thing with Trevor. And that might very well be the case. But just as we thought Doug Peterson was a great hire when he was hired, and I thought he was a good hire, and then he goes and has the great first year, and then all of a sudden things go awry, things go south, and now he's gone. So things can change so fast in the NFL. My feeling on Liam Cohen is, on paper, looks like a good hire, but let's wait and see.
Gene Fournette of the Florida Times Union with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville, and that's certainly fair. And I guess my standpoint, what I've heard from a lot of fans, and I'm sure you've heard the same thing, and you brought it up, is the young aspect. I mean, you basically have to go back to Coughlin, right? Because Del Rio and Gus Bradley were young defensive minds when they were hired. Malarkey, Doug Peterson, Doug Marrone, and I guess even Urban were offensive guys, but certainly weren't quote-unquote young at the time they were hired here. So this is really the first guy since Coughlin that might bring a young, innovative offense to the Jaguar franchise.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Liam Cohen is considerably younger than almost 10 years younger, I believe, than when Coughlin. I think Coughlin might have been. I want to say. Let me do the math in my head here. Coughlin was 48 when he was hired and 49 when he coached his first game. So he's 10 years older than Liam is. I mean, Liam is a young guy. This is a young head coach who's off the Sean McVay coaching tree. And so many of the other Sean McVay guys off that tree have done really well in the NFL. You look at O'Connell, you look at Zach Taylor with the Bengals, although he's trailed off a little bit, but all of them have had pretty darn good success in terms of getting their teams to the playoffs and showing that they can build a sustained winner where they are. And so the Jaguars are certainly hoping the same thing for Liam Cohen, and I'm sure that had to be a factor in Shad Khan's mind when he decided to pull the trigger on Liam.
You talk about the Sean McVay coaching tree. Liam Cohen is a part of that, and you look at the coordinators that he hired. Matt LaFleur is a part of that, so he goes to Green Bay and gets LaFleur's linebacker coach and Anthony Campanile. And you mentioned Kevin O'Connell, Liam Cohen's got a relationship with, and he goes and gets Grant Udinski from O'Connell's staff. What's been your thought on the two coordinator hires?
Don't really know a whole lot about them. The offensive coordinator obviously is is going to be looked at. I think the defensive coordinator is a much more critical hire because obviously Liam's going to be calling the plays, right? So the offensive coordinator role for Udinski is a little bit diminished because of that. But Campanile, I mean, he is a massive. I cannot begin to overstate how massive a hire, how important that hire is. Because, you know, everybody talks about it's great that Liam can come in here and work with Trevor, maybe transform this offense, maybe get the running attack going that's been dormant now for 2 or 3 years. But the defense was last in the league. They were last in the league. And, you know, it was just dreadful last year. So Campanile's got a big-time job on his hands, and he's a first-time defensive coordinator. Do not let it be lost in the transition that the defensive coordinator is just as important as Liam Cohen being the play caller.
A couple of more for Gene Fournette of the Florida Times-Union. Gene, that brings us to Tony Boselli. Long rumored for years that he wanted to be a part of this organization more so than calling games on the radio and being an ambassador to the organization. And this offseason, he finally gets the EVP of football operations. And one of the things I love about this, and we've talked about it a lot, I mean, it's not rocket science, Gene, that Tony did not need this job, all right? Tony's got a lot of things going on in his life, in his personal, professional career. Tony wanted this job. He wants to be a part of turning this organization around, which I think is a huge, huge deal moving forward.
Yeah, I was an advocate for a month before they made the hire. I advocated that the Jaguars that Khan should strongly consider making Tony the EVP. And the reason I say that is not because Tony was a Hall of Fame offensive lineman, right? I mean, maybe that's part of it. Obviously, it gives him a ton of cachet with fans and everything else. What I come back to is this. When you have employees that are emotionally connected to the organization in ways that 95% of the other employees in the building are not, I think it increases the chances that things will be more buttoned up, that details will not get overlooked. And I just think Tony, because he's been such a part of the fabric of the Jaguars for so long, it's just going to mean more to him to succeed than it would to anybody else. And I think for that reason, and plus having a buffer between the head coach and the general manager, it was the perfect time for Shad Khan to make this move. Now, keep in mind, this was not happening if Trent Baalke was still there. If Trent Baalke was still the GM, Shad Khan would not have been. Tony Boselli would not be the EVP. So let's get that part out of the way. But I just think now is the perfect time. I give Shad credit. I never thought he would pivot the way he did. I mean, who changes a general manager in the middle of a coaching process after you've just declared the general manager is going to be the head of the coaching search? That never happens, ever. So I give credit for Shad for doing something different, hitting the reset button in a way that I think gives this franchise a better chance, not a guarantee, a better chance to have sustained success with Tony Boselli having a significant role in the front office.
And, Gene, I want to talk about the GM search as we wrap up, but quickly back to your point on Baalke. Obviously, it was weird. 16 days after Peterson gets fired, Baalke is relieved of his duties. Do you think the water over the dam moment was when Liam Cohen basically said thanks but no thanks? Was that the telling point for Shad?
Well, Liam was very diplomatic. You noticed in his press conference saying that had nothing to do with it. That had everything to do with it. Of course it did. I mean, especially when you consider the timeline, right? I mean, how quickly Liam pivoted after Baalke was fired. You know, I mean, he could couch it in a way and say, hey, I rethought about it. And it's only one of 32 jobs. And I was having second thoughts and all that. And he did have a lot of misgivings, because I talked to his best friend for a story on Liam Cohen just recently. And he was the guy that coached with Liam at Kentucky, coached with him at the University of Massachusetts, where he was Liam's backup quarterback. And he was telling me early on in the process that Liam and Liam were having, the guy's name was Scott Woodward, by the way. He's a varsity football coach in Massachusetts now. And he was telling me that, he had some conversations with Liam early on in the process, and he was hemming and hawing. That was the word he used. He was hemming and hawing about what to do, because he was very happy where he was in Tampa. They gave him this big raise and what have you, and told the Jaguars, thanks, but no thanks, because he was given this big raise. And then all of a sudden, Balky's out the door, and Shad makes the phone call to say, hey, would you reconsider? And all of a sudden, he's reconsidering. So I don't think there's any question that Balky's departure is the reason why Liam Cohen is now the head coach of the Jaguars. Yeah, you mentioned, regardless of how Liam chose to couch it. And I understand how that he wanted to be diplomatic in his press conference, and he wasn't about to throw Trent Baalke under the bus.
Yeah, you mentioned the timeline. It was literally hours after it went public that Liam Cohen said thanks but no thanks. The Baalke was gone like 4 or 5 hours later. All right, as we begin to wrap up, again, Gene Fournette of the Florida Times-Union. You mentioned the GM search. The in-person interviews begin today, are scheduled through Friday, and then one would assume, Gene, that Saturday or Sunday at the latest, we will know who the new general manager is. I think the fan base listening tonight, the ones that are interested in the search, I think Ian Cunningham is kind of the name that's jumped to the front of their mind. I think some people also like James Gladstone from L.A. What's your thought on this process? How do you think it's ultimately going to wind up?
I'm not going to venture a guess on that, and I'll tell you why. It's easy to speculate, because that's what fans love to do, right? They say, well, this guy looks like the guy because, this guy's a rising star with the Chicago Bears and Ian Cunningham, and I've got contact I know at the Rams telling me that James Gladstone is a guy who's going to be a future GM and is another rising star. And you have Tony Baselli extolling the virtues of Ethan Waugh, okay, which I'm sure gives Jaguars fans a little bit of pause, because he has a connection with Trent Baalke. This would be. I don't know if this has happened ever before in the history of the NFL, but just imagine this for a second. If the Jaguars were to hire Ethan Waugh, my guess is they probably won't. They might keep him in the organization, but I don't know that they'll make him the GM. But if they did, this would mean that the Jaguars, for 2 general managers in a row, would hire a guy who was hired by the previous GM that got fired 2 times in a row. Because Dave Caldwell hired Trent Baalke. Baalke became the GM, and Ethan Waugh was hired by Baalke, and he could become the GM. I don't know. I was talking to a longtime NFL writer yesterday. He says he cannot recall ever any team doing that twice in a row with a GM. So that would be interesting. But I think it's a crapshoot. I'm sure a lot of people think that Cunningham and Gladstone are the front runners, and they may be. Who knows? But that's all just perception. It's not anything based on anything other than that, because until you have an in-person interview with somebody, things could change. Ian Cunningham and Gladstone may well end up they might be the favorites now, but somebody else might wow them in the interview process. You just don't know. We'll just have to wait and see.
And certainly they're going to have to hit the ground running, whoever they hire. I mean, the combine's next week, and free agency is less than 3 weeks away. Gene Fournette of the Florida Times-Union. Gene, what do you have coming up on the Times-Union in the coming days and weeks?
Well, I've got I just had a story put up on the website today, and it'll run in the paper tomorrow. A lot of Pro Football Hall of Fame voters are really upset with the change in the voting process this year, which is the reason why there's only 4 members elected to the Hall of Fame. There have been a maximum of 8, and they only elected 4. And the reason for that is they changed the voting process. They used to cut the 15 finalists used to be cut from 15 to 10 to 5. And then when it got to those 5, the voters would vote up or down on whether they wanted that guy in the Hall of Fame. And it required 80%. Well, the voters' mindset has always been, if you make it to the Final Five, you deserve to be in. So they usually it's 80% approval is no problem when it's just a yay or nay vote on the guy. This year, the Hall of Fame decided they would cut from 15 to 10 to 7, and then when you get to 7, you vote for 5. Well, when you do that, when you have more candidates in the pool, that's going to the vote's going to get split up, right? And so that's why you only had 3 modern era finalists make it this year, and the voters were really, really upset about that. They felt like it made them the scapegoats for a process, and when in fact it was the Hall of Fame Board of Directors who changed the voting bylaws to make it mathematically harder. So the bottom line is, for Jaguars like Fred Taylor and head coach Tom Coughlin, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get in the Hall of Fame unless they change back this process with the coach. The coach is voted on with one coach, 1 contributor, and 3 senior players. The voters can vote for 3 out of 5. Again, that's the same deal. It's hard to get 80% when you're putting 2 extra guys above the maximum in the pool, right? So this year, Mike Holmgren, the coach nominee, did not make it. Only one of the 3 senior players made it, and so the voters are just upset. They want to go back to the old way of voting, but I don't know if the board of directors of the Hall of Fame is going to be willing to do that.
No, that's interesting.
Bottom line is Tom Coughlin and Fred Taylor. It's going to be a lot harder for them to get in now.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I was wondering why only 4 guys got in. You just answered it for me. No, I like that. And that'll be in the Florida Times Union on the website today. That'll be in the newspaper tomorrow. Gene Fournette. Gene, I know you're busy, brother. Thank you for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Thanks for having me, Hacker. Take care.
1010XL is your home for Jacksonville University basketball.
It's Jacksonville's biggest intercity rivalry, JU-UNF in the River City Rumble. Tomorrow night at 8 on 1010 AM.
Baloo here for Smoonez Vision. Why Smoonez Vision? Well, I've been with Dr. Neil Smoonez now since I got back to Jacksonville in 2006. 37 years of experience he has. Smoonez Vision is a family organization that focuses on personal high-quality medical and surgical eye care. Dr. Catherine Smoonez is fellowship-trained in cornea and cataract surgery and all refractive surgery. Combined, that's 30 years plus in laser eye surgery. Visit SmoonezVision.com today. Here you can see.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. Hacker here, and tomorrow is going to be a really cool day for me. It'll be the 1-year anniversary of my start on Awaken 180. I got on the scale February 20th, 2024, and was at 317 pounds. And here I sit on February 19th, 2025, and I'm down over 115 pounds from that mark. And it's all thanks to the best weight loss program I've ever been on. Look, the results speak for themselves. I could sit here and say anything. All you got to do is look at a photo of me last year and look at a photo of me right now. It's completely night and day. That's Awaken 180. If it's time for you to lose weight like it was me, do yourself a favor. Go to awaken180weightloss.com. Awaken180weightloss.com. Guys, if I can do it, you can do it. They can change your life. I know this because they've changed mine. Awaken 180 weight loss.
Hello, First Coast. I'm sure by now you have seen our bright green GFL trucks and containers throughout the greater Jacksonville area. We're an industry leader in solid waste and would love the opportunity to earn your business. We're committed to customer service, reliability, and have an unwavering focus on safety. Whether commercial or construction, let us haul your waste away. Call 904-760-5880 to get a quote today. From GFL, Green for Life.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost are the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org, and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
We don't have too many cold nights on the First Coast, but when the temperature drops, you want to hit the heat button and warm up. That's where Florida Home comes in. They're the AC experts in Jacksonville, and the importance of keeping your heating system in good working order is really important. If it stops working when it gets cooler, Florida Home will leap into action and provide you with the best solution. Heater and heat pump repair service and new system installation. They do it all. Just call Florida Home AC at 777-4300, the official heating and AC partner of the Jaguars.
1010XL's running game takes a giant step forward.
Well, Fred Taylor is the whole package.
Fred Taylor joins Dan and Jeff on the drill. Monday morning running back with Fred Taylor is fueled by Epstein and Robbins and Monahan Jewelers.
If golf is your thing, you'll want to check out the 2025 Hills Pass at Hidden Hills Golf Club. Unlimited golf, including golf car, and preferred tee times for just one low price. Visit us at hiddenhillsgc.com to purchase your Hills Pass today.
Hey, I'm Tony from Tony D's Pizza. People ask me all day long, is it the water that makes the difference? Well, yes and no. Even water can't make a good pizza. It's the ingredients, too. The best tomatoes, the best flour, and the best cheese. Oh, and a lot of love. Tony D's New York Pizza, Bay Meadows and 295.
Joe C. for Preferred Roofing, reminding you your roof is more than just felt and shingles. It's a system that not only keeps your home dry, but also impacts your heating and cooling bills. Preferred Roofing and Construction is a GAF Master Elite Roofing Contractor, lauded for having the ability to educate and inform homeowners on their options. Why GAF and Preferred Roofing? They're veteran-owned and operated with ties to Duval for decades. A family business ready to make sure your family has a good roof over its head. Log on, preferredroofingjax.com.
Hey, gang, Prosser here. Are you ready to sell your home? I got an easy game plan. Call Chad and Sandy, the only agents I would call to sell my home. The economy is showing positive signs. It might be time to sell, and your home will get you the price you want with Chad and Sandy. It's easy to find out. Get friendly expert help from the Jacksonville agents who eat, drink, and sleep local real estate. Call agents Chad and Sandy Newman. Maybe you're worried about costly repairs or upgrades needed to sell your home. Guess what? You don't need to. No required costly repairs. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. But it comes down to the Chad and Sandy guarantee. Your home sold at an agreed-upon price and deadline, or they will buy it. All problems have disappeared. Pete in Lakeshore says, I was in a pickle. I needed to cash out on a rental property fast. I was struggling to rent. I heard Chad and Sandy on the radio, called. I had an offer for full asking price within days. Join the local success stories by calling Chad and Sandy at 904-414-6200 or going to chadandsandy.com.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Thank you again to Gene Fournette, Florida Times Union, and Jacksonville.com for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Coming up in less than 20 minutes, we will go to Gainesville. Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com, as the number 2 ranked team in America when it comes to college basketball. The Florida Gators, another dominating performance last night. Florida's not just winning games, they're beating the crap out of people right now. They've won like 12 games by, I think, 20 points plus this year. They're 23-3 on the season, the number 2 ranked team in America. They are a projected number 1 seed on every bracketology website out there. How did this happen in only the year 3 for Todd Golden in Gainesville? Chris Harry is as close to that team as anybody with FloridaGators.com, and he joins us here on Hacker After Dark coming up in less than 20 minutes. Back into the Jacksonville Jaguars for a moment. Do you guys realize, and I know I'm weird with numbers, and I get that, but it's already been 45 days since the regular season ended. They're on the field for drill. They're running 40-yard dashes in Indianapolis a week from tomorrow at the scouting combine. And we are 19 days away from NFL free agency. That is wild. And the reason I bring that up is because we've been so caught up in the coaching search and the staff and the coordinators and the EVP of football operations and obviously the GM search that still does not have a conclusion yet. It's getting there, but it's still an open book, at least for right now, that we haven't spent a lot of time really on the draft. Normally, by February 19th, we've been talking draft for minimum a month, usually the 2-month mark. We haven't really done that. We're starting to get into that. I'm starting to do more draft talk. We did it last night with Ryan Roberts of AtoZSports.com. Tomorrow night, we'll have Rick Saratella on, the NFL Draft Bible. NFL All Access Draft is where he is, and he's been doing it for years. So we're starting to pick up our draft coverage here on Hacker After Dark. But free agency is the wild one. Again, 19 days. Usually by mid to late February, I could name you every Jaguar in-house free agent. I could name you every guy I hope the Jaguars go after. And admittedly, I'm kind of late to the party on this because of all the things we've had to deal with internally when it comes to the Jaguars assembling a staff, etc. So we'll get more into this as the days go on. But again, we are inside of 3 weeks. In fact, pen can meet paper. Contracts can be signed 3 weeks from today in NFL free agency on March the 12th. Now, on Monday the 10th and Tuesday the 11th, those are those legal tampering days where you can negotiate, you just can't sign, but deals will be agreed to on Monday the 10th in 19 days. So quickly, just so you know, the Jacksonville Jaguars just don't have that many in-house free agents. There's a lot of guys that normally hit the free agent wire for the Jaguars. There's just not that many this year. Here are the guys that are scheduled to become free agents in 19 days. And tell me, how many of these guys do you hope they bring back? Nothing against them, but maybe age has gotten the better of them, or quite frankly, they just haven't played very well. Brandon Sheriff is going to hit free agency coming up in 19 days. You want Brandon Sheriff back? He's one of 2 starters that's scheduled to hit free agency, but Brandon Sheriff is 33 years old. I would guesstimate he's probably not going to be back here. That would be my assumption. Mac Jones is an interesting one because I think you can do a lot worse at backup quarterback than Mac Jones. But did he show you enough in for Trevor last year that you want to stick with him as the backup? Jeremiah Ledbetter is going to be 31. Don't know if they bring him back or not. Caleb Johnson is one of their better special teams players. From a selfish standpoint, I just like Caleb Johnson. I have a good rapport with him in the locker room. I talk to him all the time. So selfishly, I want them to bring Caleb Johnson back. And he is a good player on special teams. I could see them re-signing him. Dearness Johnson, I mean, okay, he did some nice things, but I think he can probably upgrade there. C.J. Beathard, the other backup quarterback, they released him last year. Will they bring him back again? Josiah DeGuara. I mean, notice a trend here. I'm not exactly naming guys you're going to see on the cover of your Jaguar program. Blake Hance, good backup piece on the offensive line. I mean, Luke Farrell. All right. I mean, he's your 3rd string tight end. And that's it for unrestricted free agents with the exception of one. I saved this guy for the end. The one name that the Jaguars are going to have to decide on is Andre Sisco. Now, look, last year this time, I thought, well, I guess it was later in the offseason, but you get the point. I thought when they re-signed Hines Allen, and certainly when they re-signed Trevor Lawrence and Tyson Campbell, I thought that made Andre Sisco a prime candidate for the franchise tag this year. Prime candidate. There is no way on planet Earth they're franchising Andre Sisco. In fact, I don't know if I would even bring Andre Sisco back. Andre Sisco was underwhelming to me last year. Is that all his fault? I don't know if it's all his fault. Maybe it was the scheme. Maybe it was guys around him. Whatever it was, Andre Sisco, to me, fair or not, was kind of a disappointment in 2024, which is a shame that that happened to him going into a contract year. Now, look, if I find out in the next couple of weeks that they re-sign Andre Sisco on a 1 or 2 year deal, Am I going to lose sleep about it? No. I think you could do a lot worse than Andre Sisco. But I think you could also do a lot better than Andre Sisco. And I'm at the point now where I would probably let Sisco walk. I would. And I'd let Brandon Sheriff walk, which means you're looking for 2 new starters, one at right guard and one of your starting safeties. And truth be told, I don't know how many of the other guys I'm bringing back. There will be a lot of guys returning on this Jaguar roster just based on the way contracts are, but there will be a lot of newness as well. Because of the dozen or so free agents I just rattled off that will hit free agency on March 19th, again, I don't think there's many vital guys on that list. Other than Brandon Sheriff and Sisco, none of the other guys even start. So whoever the Jaguars do hire as their next GM, which will happen in the next 96 hours or so, that's going to be their first order of business, looking at in-house free agents after the combine, and then looking at the likes of Christian Kirk and other guys of that sort to restructure or possibly release to get even more cap room heading in to Monday, March the 10th. More on the Jaguars coming up in the 7 o'clock hour. Again, it's Wednesday night, Hacker After Dark. We're in for Baloo here on 1010XL. Coming up next, let's head to Gainesville. Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com. The Florida Gators may have the best basketball team in the country. You know how I know that? Because they're ranked number 2, and the team that's ranked number 1, Florida went into their gym and beat a couple weeks ago. Florida is really, really good. They're 23-3, and they're playing some of the best basketball down there that they have in a decade. Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com, talking Gator hoops with us here on Hacker After Dark next on a Wednesday night here in the city of Jacksonville.
Chase Elliott through the dog leg.
Hey, I'm Chase Elliott, driver of the number 9 Napa Chevrolet.
Elliott's going to win at Talladega.
And you're listening to 1010XL Jack Sports Radio.
Frank Frangie here. It's new year, new truck time at Nimnik Buick GMC, home of the largest inventory of GMC Sierras in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia. This month, save up to $10,000 off select new GMC Sierra 1500s or enjoy rates as low as 0% and 0 APR financing. Yes, 0%. You can't find deals like this anywhere in Jacksonville. Shop 24/7 online at NimnikBuickGMC.com. Value your trade and customize your payment options in seconds. Nimnik Buick GMC. GMC, we are professional grade.
Don't miss the Players Championship, March 11th through 16th at TPC Sawgrass. This can't-miss event features a variety of activities for every fan to enjoy, from delicious bites to the Sawgrass Splash. There are endless fan enhancements that will make for a memorable experience. Plus, watch the top PGA Tour players, including back-to-back champion Scottie Scheffler, take on the iconic stadium course featuring the famous Island Green. Tickets available at theplayers.com.
I'm Chris Campione. In a world of big box law firms with satellite offices, there's something special about having a local legal team that cares about you and your community. We're not just lawyers, we're your neighbors. We understand the unique challenges facing the Jacksonville community because we live here too. At Campione Law, Campione Cares isn't just a tagline, it's our commitment to you. Campione Law, your trusted lawyers after an accident. CampioneLaw.com.
Count on Campione, Campione Law.
WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
It's time to elevate your game night. Head to Best Bet, your premier destination for poker, card games, and hospitality. With locations in Jacksonville, Orange Park, and St. Augustine, we have a seat ready for you. Whether you're a seasoned poker player or just starting out, we have you covered with poker games of all limits and easy-to-learn games like Ultimate Texas Hold'em. And it's not just poker. With delicious dining, lively bars, and big screen events, there's something for everyone at Best Bet. Visit BestBetJacks.com to learn more. That's BestBetJacks.com and ante up for fun.
Hi, it's Ben, second generation from Beards Diamonds. Guys, if you're popping a question soon, looking for an anniversary gift, before you buy anywhere, shop Beards. From a half carat to 10 carats, Beards will beat any competitor's price.
In the St. John's Town Center or at BeardsDiamonds.com.
Home is where your story begins. And at Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, we're here to make it the healthiest, most comfortable place it could be. Whether it's fresh, clean air, dependable plumbing, or reliable power, we take care of it all. From routine maintenance to state-of-the-art solutions, Donovan keeps your home running smoothly. Because at Donovan, we believe your home isn't just where you live, it's where your health meets comfort. Call Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing at 904-270-COOL or visit us online. Let's make your home healthier, safer, and better together.
Hacker here, thinking I did something spectacular, dropping 123 pounds. But then Steve pops in and dropped a whopping 150 pounds with Awaken 180 weight loss.
I got started because I was sick and tired of just being sick and tired all the time. Wanted more from life, and I knew that at my size, I wasn't being who I could be, who I want to be for not only myself, but for my wife. And I was like, something has got to change, and it's got to start soon. I mean, the program is so easy. Everything is really written down for you on your first day. Having someone there to help you and also keep you accountable, just having that someone to talk to, and even the fact that Awaken 180 offers free maintenance for life is amazing because keeping the weight off is a lifetime commitment.
A lifetime commitment is what you'll receive with Awaken 180. 25 pounds like Dempsey, 40 pounds like Matt Hayes, or maybe it's over 100 pounds like Steve and me. Awaken 180 will get you there online at awaken180weightloss.com.
If someone you love needs a pick-me-up, then it's time to get serious about it and send them a Kuhn Floral Arrangements. Dylan Denmark here with 1010XL. You'll be assured of a quality delivery, that's for sure. Log on and order online at kuhnflowers.com.
What could you do with an extra $75,000 right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey, Prosser here. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash, so you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork, no cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisals. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. That's your money. Use it. One client got $150,000 out and paid off all their credit cards, 2 car loans, and a personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as 1 day, so act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com or 904-999-1508. Get the money you need for anything at 904-999-1508 or just go to LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
This is Daytona, the awe-inspiring spectacle of Supercross, and the most challenging course to witness the air-catching, adrenaline-pumping, heart-pounding action unlike any other race in Florida. Daytona Supercross. The biggest names battle it out under the lights at the World Center of Racing. Don't miss it. The gate drops Saturday, March 1st. Secure your tickets and trackside access today at DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. The Florida Gators got their 23rd victory of the year one night ago, absolutely dominating Oklahoma. The Gators are now 23-3, 10-3 in the Southeastern Conference, ranked number 2 in America, and by any bracketology level would be a 1 seed if the NCAA tournament started today. What a ride it's been. Let's talk to a guy that's been there for all of it. That's Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com. Does a terrific job covering the University of Florida. And Chris is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Chris, how we doing, man?
Good evening, Ryan. How are you?
Chris, we're good. Thank you, as always, for the time. All right, 23-3. You cover this team as closely as anybody. Did you have any idea 2.5 months ago that this is where it would end up?
Well, 23-3 is a pretty high bar, but I like to say, and I'm not tooting horns here, but I mean, I go to practice every day, and I have since they assembled these guys last spring, the transfers, and there's some of these other guys started rolling in, and just started to see the chemistry develop during summer practices and well into preseason. And you got a sense pretty early on, Ryan, that this was going to be the most talented team that Florida had in probably 10 years. They really started to mesh together. The great teams, I believe, especially the ones that are built for March, have great guards. And you just saw that developing. You knew they already had Walter Clayton Jr. You knew they had Will Richard already. You knew both of those guys had been coming out of the NBA eval process, and they got feedback, and they were serious about improving their games. Denzel Aberdeen was coming back. He really came on late last season. Just being in the gym the last couple of years, you saw the potential of that guy. It was just a matter of him gaining some confidence and breaking out. You roll Elijah Martin from FAU into the equation, and you just saw it all really developing alongside the maturation of the bigs, especially Alex Condon and Tommy Hawk back for their sophomore seasons. Incredible athletes that run all day, play with, fearless kind of effort and what have you. So, yeah, I did I see 23-3? Of course not, because last year the team won 24 games. That's a lot of wins. This is the most wins since 2017. You say, can you win as many games as last year? Well, you don't know, because going into the season, you're looking at the Southeastern Conference, which you knew was going to be historically good. But they've stood the test of time. They've weathered a bunch of injuries in the last several weeks, and they've won 5 in a row, and they're killing teams right now. They've won 18 games, I believe, or maybe it's 19 now, by double digits. They've won 12 games by at least 20 points, including the last 2. And they're heading into the home stretch playing their best basketball of the season, and they're not even healthy right now.
Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Chris, there's a lot of branches I want to talk about with you when it comes to this team. But first and foremost, Walter Clayton. And I don't think I'm overstating this. Tell me if I am. I mean, the great shooters, Vernon Maxwell, obviously Lee Humphrey. You go on down the line. There have been some Anthony Roberson. I mean, there have been some ridiculous shooters in Gator basketball history. Boy, Walter Clayton's got to be in that conversation now, does he not?
Yeah, percentage-wise, he's not up there with those guys. You talk about Lee Humphrey. You didn't mention Michael Frazier. You didn't Anthony Roberson. You mentioned or whatever. Those guys are 40% career shooters. Walter Clayton is, in the 36, 37 since he's been here, I think. But his ability to make shots and the distance from where he can make shots. I believe he's the most creative and, talented overall scorer the Gators have had, in decades. Just listen to Porter Mosier last night after the game talking about Florida's, he goes, they got 3 or 4 guys who has 27-foot range. And he started the conversation, obviously, with Walter. And what you've seen the last couple of weeks, I mean, these aren't accidental shots. I mean, he works on them. I wrote a story last week, I believe. I mean, he does his shooting routine in the gym, whether, it's with the Torian Green or Jordan Talley, the developmental coaches or whatever. And he shoots college threes. He's got to make 100. Then he shoots NBA threes, got to make 100. And then he does spots from logo area where he's got to make 4 sets of 5 in a row. And if you don't make 5, he starts over. So, wow. He's working on this stuff. But I think what gets lost in Walter right now is how he's developed as a point guard. Beginning of the season, everyone said, Florida don't have a point guard. Who's going to play point guard for Florida? And Todd Golden was Walter Clayton's going to play. But he's not a point guard. But he's actually looked like a point guard. I think he had 9 assists in the upset of Auburn. I think he had 8 at Mississippi State last week. He played last night without turning the ball over. Walter Clayton's a point guard. And he has a chance to be – he's in the conversation for first-team All-America status, which would be historic for Florida because, amazing as it sounds, they've never had one before.
Well, and my thought on the Gators, Chris, and it wasn't rocket science. They had an 8-man rotation for the longest time. And my concern was, well, all right, it's great now, but if injuries start accumulating, that could be a problem. And then Elijah Martin went down. And then we obviously saw Alex Condon go down, and Walter Clayton missed a game. But I didn't know at the time that, Micah Hanlockton was going to take that red shirt off and come back. That has been vital in this last 2-game stretch. Klobuchar from off the guard line is the 5th guard when everybody's healthy, but he's playing out of his mind right now. You all of a sudden look at this team when Alexis and Condon come back, and they're 10 deep all of a sudden, and they're one of the deepest teams in America.
And it's funny because Todd was asked kind of that setup question after the South Carolina game last weekend. So, you got all these guys. You have 10 guys. So you're going to play a 10. He goes, I don't like to play 10. So, somebody's out. Or he basically just said it. So, yeah, as deep as they are, now will he play 10 if he has to, circumstance games or whatever? But he wants to play 2 bigs and 3 guards all the time. There have been maybe 3 minutes this season where he's strayed from that, and that was the game where they lost. There was the game, I believe, it was the Mississippi State game, I believe, where they had to play a little differently up front or whatever. But you're right. I mean, Hand-Lockton, I liken his arrival to like you're the Dodgers and you're a buyer at the trade deadline, and all of a sudden you get a SEC starting 7-footer. It's like the Dodgers getting a starting pitcher. It doesn't happen in college basketball to all of a sudden get an elite player like that. Last year, he was the #1 offensive rebounder in the Southeastern Conference, the 5th in the country. He's not where he was last year in terms of cardiovascularly, but he's only played 2 games, and he's doing extra work and what have you. But he's not going to have to play half the game like he did last year. And once Alex Condon gets back, goodness gracious, now you're talking about. You're talking about Thomas Hawk. You're talking about Micah. You're talking about you're talking about if you need Sam Alexis out there. You're talking about Ruben Chignileo, who's had double-figure scoring the last 2 games. A lot of depth. I mean, I go back and watch the broadcasts of these games, and that's what these guys are gushing about. These talking heads, both doing the game and the ones in the studio, are saying, "My goodness, these guys are really deep." And it's not just depth; it's really, really it's quality depth. And you mentioned Clavsar, 9 of 14 from 3-point range in SEC play, and he really just got in the rotation a couple weeks ago when Walter Clayton wasn't available. I think he's hit 8 of his last 9 or 7 of his last 8 3-pointers over the course of the last 4 games.
A couple more for Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com. Chris, none of this would be possible without Todd Golden, right? I mean, it's only year 3 for Todd Golden, and some people wondered, could Florida ever get, remotely close? Not that they're going to win back-to-back titles again. Who does? But could they get remotely close back to where Billy had them? And they're not there yet. But I think a lot of people wondered, would Florida ever be a top 5 team in America? Could they ever be competing for a #1 seed in the NCAA tournament again? And Todd Golden hasn't even been there 3 full years. And here we are at 23-3. And what I love about Golden, and you tell me you're much closer to it than I am, is it's not only the transfer portal, which has been vital, but it's also high school recruiting as well. There is a mixture of both on this roster.
Yeah, the guys that jump out at you high school-wise, obviously, Alex Condon came from Australia, and Thomas Hawk from Pennsylvania. Those guys were not highly recruited players. They had very few offers. Thomas actually went back, did a year of prep school to try to get some more attention. Florida, he grew up he was a little boy. He remembers watching Tebow, and he kind of had his eye on Florida. But not only did he identify those guys, Ryan, but they've developed. And it's a tribute to the coaches, the coaching staff here, starting with Todd, that they've been able to identify what they want in their program and build around it. He doesn't deviate. Like I said, he plays two bigs, wants 3 guards on the floor at all times that can score. Play through the 2 bigs. He has a plan, a prototype that he plays to. He recruits to it, and he's identified talent. And the way he develops chemistry in the locker room, he's a program builder. I mean, he played for Randy Bennett at St. Mary's. Randy Bennett's been there a long time and won a lot of games. It's hard to win big at St. Mary's. Have they been a Final Four team? Of course not. But that guy's still there. He's won, I think, 600 games. And then he coached with Bruce Pearl, who may be the ultimate program builder in all of college basketball, if you look at what he did at Tennessee and what he's done at Auburn. So he knows what a good basketball program looks like, and he does deserve a lot of credit because from the moment he stepped to the podium and took the job here, he had a vision. If you go back and look at his quotes, everything he said that night where he took the job, he's accomplished here by following the blueprint that he laid out.
All right, Chris, as we begin to wrap up, Sam Alexis, Alex Condon, both with ankles, both missed the game last night. 5 games to go in the regular season before the conference tournament. When do we think both guys would return?
I mean, I think Sam's maybe a little a little worse than Alex's. I'm not a trainer. I see those guys walking around in their boots. Alex was actually out taking shots in pregame in his walking boot last night. I think as long as they keep playing like this, the Gators are comfortable with the time. Obviously, you'd love to have those guys ready to go a week from Saturday when the run of 3 straight. Actually, it's going to starting next Tuesday night at Georgia. They end the season with 4 quad 1 opportunities. But a week from Saturday, they play Texas A&M at home, and I know A&M lost last night, but that's looking like a battle of 2 top 10 teams, and I think they'd probably like to have Alex back by that time, and that's another 10 days. So that's a good timeline, but don't hold me to it. I'm not the trainer. All I know is the guy's getting around the clock treatment, trying to get him ready to play.
No, I hear you. And Chris, leave us with this. I mean, look, like you said, they are destroying teams right now. That loss to Tennessee did something to this team, because after that loss to Tennessee, they've been a completely different roster. Is there a concern that, maybe peaking too early, or they just, they can't play any better than they're playing right now? Do you think this will continue?
No, I mean, peaking too early. That's kind of, to me, like a fan thing. The coaches want to be playing well. They want to be playing well at the right time, and I would think rolling into March, playing pretty well would be a good thing. The bottom line is, you get to March. I mean, you can have a bad game and you're playing golf the next day. So the positive thing about this team, Ryan, is like, if Walter Clayton has an off night shooting, they got a bunch of other guys who can shoot. If some guy gets in foul trouble in the front line, up front, they got a guy who can back them up. So the depth and guys that are coming to the rescue, I think seven different guys have scored at least 20 points. 7 guys have led the team in scoring. 6 different guys, I think, have led the team in rebounding. So a lot of guys can do a lot of things, and that's what you want heading into March. Now just try to get these guys healthy and let the chips fall, right?
Chris, tell Gator Nation here in Jacksonville, man, FloridaGators.com, what you have coming out on the website, and also you're very active on social media. Tell them where they can follow you.
You can follow me at Gators Chris. I appreciate that. And I'm the guy who follows his team around. I'll be in Baton Rouge this weekend. We'll be in Athens, Georgia next week, and we'll be with this team on the home and on the road at team meals in the training room from now until the season's over. So give me a follow, if you will.
Gators Chris on social media. Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com. Chris, I know you're busy. Thank you for taking time out, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
All right, Ryan. Thanks.
If you like the heat, we are always bringing it. 1010 XL.
Some like it hot, some like it hot.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror, fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at Dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
Are you an experienced chiller technician and looking for a role where your skills are truly valued? It's time to make the move to Local 234, plumbers, pipe fitters, and HVAC technicians. You'll get top pay, comprehensive health and welfare benefits for your family, and a pension that doesn't come out of your pocket. Join the team that's got your back. Local 234, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Visit UA234.com to send your resume today.
Equal opportunity employer.
Are you 18 years or older, just got married, just got divorced, or have children? Listen up. Have you done your last will and estate planning? If you have questions, call Matt Hinson with the Hinson Law Firm. Reach him at 527-1700. Office is Jacksonville, Florida. And don't let the state decide your fate.
This month, 1010XL shines the spotlight on African Americans in our community who have made the first coast a better place to live. I'm E.T. Listen for my stories during Black History Month on 1010XL. Brought to you by Instant Keys and McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. What's better than beer? Cold beer. Put your company logo on a custom koozie. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
Pickett here with my concierge doctor, Richard Townsend. Doc T, how does a concierge direct primary care operate?
We are a membership-based primary care made directly between a patient and physician. We'll have a limited amount of patients that allows us to give unlimited access and personal service to you. This individualized approach has been shown to lower hospitalizations as well as maintain healthier lives. We also give 24/7 access via phone to me outside of our scheduled office hours.
To learn more, go to mypvconcierge.com.
These days, it feels like everyone is talking about how the American dream of homeownership has become out of reach for so many of us. Well, Rocket is trying to give us more of a chance to own our homes. They're making homeownership simpler and more accessible to more people, turning renters into owners. Rocket believes that every one of us deserves a shot at the American dream. So, are you ready? Own the dream. Visit rocket.com or call 800-4ROCKET.
Budweiser reminds us to drink wiser, like hydrating between beers. It keeps the fun going longer, and it's a commitment to responsibility. Remember, good times are ahead, so no need to overdo it. Know when to say when, and always designate a driver.
Mike Dempsey here. Look, it's been 10 years that I've been vouching for my guys at Dandy Boots, and for a decade, I'm proud of my association with a local family business. They make a great product. I've made no secret that I was a customer long before Dandy ever came on board on 1010XL. But I'm thinking I'm due a little Dandy swag, maybe a little love. How about a Dandy t-shirt, a ball cap? So how about it, Thompson family? What do you got going on over there? In the meantime, I'm going to keep eating those delicious tuna salad sandwiches. So guys, keep helping me out and grab a Dandy sandwich today.
Are you embarrassed by your ugly, cracked concrete driveway? Stop by Stone Core on Phillips Highway for all your outdoor living needs. Let them show you how a durable paver driveway can enhance your home. Visit stonecore.co. We do outdoors better.
You survived the cold, and it's time to heat up your spring with a cigar tasting of Perdomo cigars. Join Tobacco Cove Saturday, February 22nd from 1 to 4 p.m. for a tasting extravaganza featuring Perdomo cigars rolled in Nicaragua. Food, drinks, and specials on cigars. This is your chance to experience the quality and value Perdomo offers. Tobacco Cove on Bay Meadows Road. More than a cigar store, it's an experience.
E.T. here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Again, thank you to Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. That Gator team is really, really good. They got LSU and Georgia. And then they're going to end with like 3 straight games against teams ranked inside the top 20 before conference tournament play begins. But barring, a real downfall down the stretch, Florida's looking at least a 1 or a 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. Terrific job by Todd Golden and that Gator coaching staff here in 2024 and 2025. More on them as the week goes on. We'll also, coming up in about a little under 15 minutes, my man Zig Fracassi. You hear him on Sirius XM NFL radio. You also hear him on Sirius XM NHL radio. Now, we're going to talk with Zig about the Jaguars, about Liam Cohen. I haven't talked to Zig since all the changes here in Jacksonville, so I want to get his thoughts, his perspective on that. But I also want to talk about this craziness going on. Now, admittedly, I am not the biggest hockey fan. I am a self-proclaimed bandwagon jumper when it comes to the Tampa Bay Lightning for the Stanley Cup playoffs, which I'm planning on getting back on that bandwagon here in a couple of weeks. So I didn't even know anything about this Four Nations event that's going on. Had literally no idea until, I guess, a week and a half ago. And then on Saturday night, I'm in Orlando at the hotel, and I happen to turn on the TV, and I see fights going on, 3 fights in the first, 10 seconds between the U.S. and Canada. And it's got the political tones because the national anthem was getting booed and all of that fallout. And then I come to realize that the U.S. and Canada are playing a rematch tomorrow night in Boston to win this tournament based on everything that transpired with the fights on Saturday. So it's got me intrigued a little bit. It's got me interested a little bit. So we'll talk to Zig Fracassi about that side of it, too. Again, you hear him on both SiriusXM NFL and SiriusXM NHL, and Zig joins me in less than 15 minutes. You know, we talk about the Jaguars and the GM search going on right now. Again, second interviews, finalist interviews, if you will, began today. They will run tomorrow, and I believe through Friday. The new GM to me will be named at some point on Saturday or Sunday. Again, I told you in hour number 1, I think it's a 2-horse race at this point. I think it's either James Gladstone of L.A. or Ian Cunningham of Chicago. And I could really see it going either way, but if you had to pin me down right now, I'd say I'm 55-45 in the Gladstone camp. Again, if Ian Cunningham got the job, I would not be surprised at all. But I would give just a little bit of a lean, a little bit of a leader in the clubhouse feel to me personally to Gladstone over Cunningham, at least right now. That could change, tomorrow. We'll see how I'm feeling 24 hours from now. But the first order of business for whoever gets hired as the GM is the Combine. Again, they're on the field for Combine work beginning tomorrow in Indianapolis. Interviews will start happening, I believe, a week from yesterday. So we're inside a week away from people descending on Indianapolis, which is crazy to think the Jaguars still don't have a general manager and the Combine is here. But that's the first order of business. Second order of business is to get everything squared away for free agency, which begins 19 days from today, which evaluates your own free agents, obviously evaluates those that will become free agents from other teams. And 2 big issues that are going to happen fairly quickly are the futures of Evan Ingram and Christian Kirk here in Jacksonville. Now, I do not believe both guys are going to be cut. I would be stunned if both guys were released. I think at absolute minimum 1 returns. I think Evan Ingram is going to be here. I mean, I don't know why you would cut Evan Ingram. When he played last year, he was productive. He obviously had a lot of injury issues. I really like a 2 tight end set with he and Brenton Strange. He doesn't cost you all that much, all things considering. So if I'm the Jaguars, Evan Ingram is going to be in the fold next year. Christian Kirk is more of an interesting story to me. And Dan Graziano this morning on ESPN.com, he had one pressing question for all 32 NFL teams, and his pressing question for the Jaguars is, what are the odds the Jaguars will cut Christian Kirk? And Graziano says pretty high. He would put it at 75%. Kirk has 1 year left on his contract and is scheduled to make $16.5 million in 2025, which is reasonable if he plays, but he's missed back-to-back seasons with back-to-back season-ending injuries, including a collarbone injury in 2024. The Jaguars do have Brian Thomas Jr. in the fold. They have a Gabe Davis contract that will be hard to move, and we'll see what happens with Kirk. But he puts it at 75% that Christian Kirk is cut. I don't know if it's that high, but I do believe it's probably about a 50-50 scenario. Because remember the rumors that came out last year before Kirk got injured against Green Bay? Remember, that was the final game before the trade deadline. And Kirk went down injured and ended up missing the year. But the thought was, or at least the rumor was, that the Jaguars were talking to teams about Christian Kirk, and there was that report that came out that maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers had inquired about Christian Kirk's services prior to the injury. Look, I really like Christian Kirk. I think when he's healthy, he's been a very good player. The issue is when he's healthy. Kirk never had really any injury problems in Arizona. He was fortunate in that regard. But he's not the biggest guy. He's not getting any younger, and he's missed back-to-back seasons with back-to-back season-ending injuries, or portions of seasons with season-ending injuries. That becomes a trend, right? Now, he had the core muscle injury freak thing on Monday Night Football in 2023, landed on his collarbone last year. He's not blowing out his Achilles, right? He's not rupturing an ACL. So from that standpoint, you know, it's certainly better that it's a collarbone and an abdominal injury than it was a knee, an ankle, an Achilles, etc. But it's still 2 years in a row that something like that has happened. That's obviously not good for a guy that's entering, year number 7? No, year number 8. I think this will be Christian Kirk's 8th year in the National Football League. That puts him, 28, 29 years old? Not exactly a spring chicken anymore. Brian Thomas Jr. is clearly wide receiver 1. Gabe Davis's contract is going to be hard to move. And if the Jaguars have any inkling of bringing in a free agent wide receiver or drafting one high in the draft, Christian Kirk probably wouldn't be in the plans at that point. And you got Parker Washington, who wasn't half bad when Christian Kirk got hurt. I want Christian Kirk here. The Jaguars would be better if Christian Kirk was here, but it's a business. And the Jaguars would save a decent amount of money if they do cut Christian Kirk. Now, what complicates it further is we know how close Trevor Lawrence is with Christian Kirk. You know, how much will that play a factor in the ultimate decision? That, to me, is a fascinating one. So the combine, the first order of business for that new GM and Liam Cohen. But right after they get back from Indy, I think you got to make a decision on Kirk. Because if you're going to cut him and save that money, you want to be able to use that in free agency, which, again, is only 19 days away. More on the Jaguars coming up throughout the week here on Hacker After Dark. In fact, we'll do a little Jaguar talk coming up next with my buddy Zig Fracassi, Sirius XM NFL Radio. We'll talk to Zig about Liam Cohen, about the Jaguars, about the coaching carousel in the National Football League, and Zig is also on Sirius XM NHL. We'll talk a little USA Canada. A little fights, a little national anthem booing, a lot of intrigue to me about that rematch tomorrow night. I'm not a hockey fan by any stretch of the imagination. Zig Fracassi, Sirius XM, joins me next on a Wednesday here in Northeast Florida. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Family. XL Prime Time. Joe C., Matt Hayes, and Leon Searcy.
What is it about us? I mean, why all this friction between us?
One big happy family.
You put on quite a show.
Afternoons 2 to 4.
Is this a test?
On 1010XL.
This is the sound of turning small bets into legendary wins. Only on the Hard Rock Bet Sportsbook app. The sound of parlays. The sound of paydays. The sound of watching the game will never be the same. Hard Rock Bet has already paid out millions and millions in parlays to people across Florida. Download Hard Rock Bet now, and if your first bet doesn't win, get up to $100 back as a bonus bet. Offered by the Seminole Tribe of Florida. Must be 21 plus and physically present in Florida to play. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Please call 1-888-ADMIT-IT. At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
Did you know your pup could take 30,000 to 60,000 steps a day at Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard? That's a whole lot of tail wagging fun with their best furry friends. At Dogtopia, they turn playtime into exercise, learning, and socialization in their off-leash, open play environment. Dogs build confidence, reduce anxiety, and stay happy and healthy, all while having the time of their lives. Visit Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard today.
We're certainly facing interesting economic times. For me, it's comforting to know my money's in good hands with ITP Partners. Jacksonville guys taking care of my Jacksonville money. Experience? Yeah, that's Chris Bryan, Jeff Hartman, Reagan Wright, Dan Abel, Scott Regner, Janice Cobb, and Reed Wingate. They have the expertise and knowledge to take care of your money. For more info, go to itppartners.com. ITP Partners, they're my financial partners for life.
Non-compensated client testimonial may not be representative of all client experiences. No guarantee of future performance or success.
It's the blog players put their pads on for.
So we got to bring my thoughts and observations on our home team. That's what I share with you every week on my blog.
Roland Reach Plumbing brings you Hayes Blog on 1010XL.com. Bull riding, the perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
Hey, this is David with Royal Pest Services. The fact that we've been bundled up the past month gave us an idea. Let's bundle up also with our Centricon and Pest Control bundle, starting at $349. Visit RoyalPestServices.com for your free inspection.
Hello, I'm attorney Malcolm Anthony. Being charged with domestic violence can turn your life upside down. If you're in trouble, call me, Malcolm Anthony, at 285-4LAW. That's 285-4LAW.
A customer with an older home and galvanized piping called saying they had poor water pressure. It smelled bad and was discolored. So we at Duck Rooter sent a highly skilled manager to discuss options. How repiping the water lines would solve the issues. The result? Clean flowing water. Call for your free estimate, 904-862-6769. Visit DuckDuckRooter.com. Proud partner of the Jacksonville Jags. Serving commercial and residential, fully insured and certified plumbing contractor.
I'm Tyler Oldenburg, the tournament chairman for the 2025 players. We're proud to partner with Golf Fights Cancer to inspire and empower golfers to make a difference in the fight against cancer. It's only 20 days until the Players' Championship.
Yo, E.T. here. And are you looking for some good food, outdoors fun, and plenty to do? My old stomping grounds in Clay County is the place to be. Check out Clay's diverse local restaurants. They have barbecue, seafood, and Latin restaurants that hit the spot. Paddle alongside the scenic waterways. Cast a line or hit the trail. In the events, there's always something to do for you and the fam. Check out exploreclay.com to plan your next adventure. And when you do, make sure you hashtag ExploreClay on social.
North Florida is growing with lots of new families joining our community. If you're one of them making the move here, your next move should be a call to American Electrical to create the best home automation system, enhancing your living experience. There are many ways your life can be made easier through smart home technology, voice-activated systems, automated lighting, total house temperature control. With American Electrical, they've got everything you need to automate your home and make it your true oasis. Check out American-Electrical.com, powered by professionalism and raising the excellence bar.
Denny Thompson here. You gotta check out Tyson's Showroom Home Theater with surround sound and comfy theater chairs. You can transform your living room into a cinematic experience. I can stay there to watch all my games. It's that comfortable. Call Tyson today and bring the theater experience home. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 US Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The NFL Scouting Combine comes up next week in Indianapolis. Free agency less than 3 weeks away. The Jaguars still in search for a general manager. That search should come to an end by the end of this week. Of course, Liam Cohen and his coaching staff are completely in place. A lot of Jaguar stuff to discuss. And also, have you seen the news lately surrounding the world of hockey? This Four Nations deal has been a success. And boy, Thursday night when the U.S. and Canada play again, that should be some scene. Let's talk about all of it with my buddy Zig Fracassi. You can check him out on both SiriusXM NFL Radio and SiriusXM NHL Radio. And Zig is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Zig, it's been far too long, man. How are you?
Hack, I'm doing great. Saw that you and the wife and the son had a nice time down at Disney, huh?
We did. It's amazing, Zig, when you lose 100 pounds, you can actually do a lot more stuff with the family, which has been awesome.
You look fabulous, brother.
Well, thank you very much, buddy. I certainly appreciate that. All right, I want to spend some time with you on the Four Nations hockey event because it's been an unbelievable success. But while we have you here, first and foremost, with your work on SiriusXM NFL Radio, your overall thoughts on Liam Cohen here as the brand new head coach of the Jaguars.
I guess I'm not surprised because you look at what he's done through the years. He's, definitely been highly regarded, whether he was shuttling, if you will, between the Rams and University of Kentucky. And then I think really, Baker Mayfield's probably the testimonial if you really think about Liam Cohen, because you saw what he was doing with him when Baker was briefly with the Rams. And then, of course, Baker went to Tampa. Liam Cohen was the offensive coordinator there. And really, for the first time in his career, Baker Mayfield looks like a very good NFL quarterback. And I think a lot of that has to deal, with Liam Cohen, his innovations and working with Baker and all that. So I think that simply became a testimonial. I still think Trevor Lawrence can be a very good quarterback in this NFL. I think he got lost a little bit under Doug Peterson, to be perfectly honest. Plus the injuries. Ingram didn't play a whole lot last year. It was just a poop show. Let's call it what it was there, and you're closer to it than I am, but that's what it looked like from the outside of Jacksonville. So long story short, I think what you've got to have anymore is the good head coach quarterback rapport. That's probably what the Jags were looking for. I'm not surprised at all that Liam Cohen got the job.
Zig, you've covered the league for a while. A 39-year-old head coach, a 29-year-old offensive coordinator in Grant Udinski, a 42-year-old defensive coordinator in Anthony Campanile. I mean, the Jaguars are going very, very young. Any trepidation for you about that, or do you think that'll be okay?
That's a great question. I wonder... a lot of these teams look for that hot young assistant. I think that actually goes back more recently to the Sean McVay effect. Like every team had to have the Sean McVay type or whoever worked under him. So I guess part of it's a little bit dangerous, a little bit unknown because of the youth. But at the same time, it does ask the question. Again, you'd have to ask all 32 owners around the National Football League, do you want to go a little cheap on the coaching staff? Or in other words, do you want to bring in guys that, have been around 20, 25, 30 years, whatever the case might be, but do you want to pay them? Do you not? Do you got to worry about the egos getting involved? Because as you know, the NFL is a very egocentric business. So I think in the end, you kind of like the challenge, the youth, if you will, because you want, I think coaches now have to relate more to the players. Guys, you mentioned the 29-year-old as a quarterback coach. Hell, some of the players on the Jags are probably older than he is. So I think the youth part of it's pretty good. It's the intrigue, and who knows, maybe cost is in a play as well.
Zig Fracassi, SiriusXM NFL Radio. Zig, final NFL question. When you look at the coaching carousel as a whole, I would think most fan bases got to be pretty happy, right? With, Pete Carroll in Las Vegas, obviously Mike Vrabel coming back to New England, Aaron Glenn coming back to the Jets. We know how excited Chicago is for Ben Johnson. I can tell you Liam Cohen here is getting a lot of excitement. Dallas may be the head scratcher with Schottenheimer, right? And then Kellen Moore, the guy just won a Super Bowl. It's hard to complain about that. by and large, now we know all these coaches aren't going to work out. The law of averages tells you that. But at least for the here and now, I would think most of the fan bases have to be pretty content.
Well, yeah, and I think you laid that out extremely well, and for the reasons that I probably give back to you and your listeners. The Dallas one, again, is, a little bit of a head scratcher, although if you really think about it, is it really? Maybe not, because the narrative always seems to be, well, this is a coach that Jerry and Stephen Jones can control, if you will. So maybe that's a part of this, but part of me is sentimental because I worked a few shows years ago with Brian's father, the late, great Marty Schottenheimer, one of the real class acts and gentlemen you never want to be around. So part of me is actually rooting for Brian. And who knows, Hack, maybe it's one of these things that, he hasn't maybe been considered to be a serious head coach candidate for a while, but he does have familiarity with the offense. He and Dak apparently have a good rapport. You're hoping the Cowboys actually spend some money in the offseason, enhance their running back position, fortify the offensive line. I think there are still some good component pieces on defense. He knows the ins and outs. So maybe this is one of these things, and you hear from people from the inside saying that, maybe this is the first time Brian gets his own show, so to speak. So it'll be interesting to see. But with Dallas, with Jerry and Stephen Jones, I think it's more about the shine and the image than the actual football. So that's where I think the doubt lies within.
Yeah, Brian Schottenheimer being a former Florida Gator, there's a lot of people around here rooting for him out in Dallas. No question about that. Here's Zig Fracassi on SiriusXM NFL Radio. Zig, you're also on SiriusXM NHL Radio. And pardon the ignorance here, I had no idea that this Four Nations thing was going to happen. And truthfully, for the last, week or so, I took notice of it. I really wasn't familiar with what was going on. And then all of a sudden, Canada decided to boo the national anthem. Okay. And I don't want to get political here because we know kind of why they're booing the national anthem. But that has started a real rivalry on the rink between the U.S. and Canada in hockey. And we saw that boil over on Saturday. And we're going to see the rematch on Thursday night, and I imagine hockey's got to be just loving this.
Yeah, and, I think a lot of people, were caught off guard because normally when you have like an NHL-related type of tournament like this, it's normally before the start of the season, whether it's been a Canada Cup or a chance that I had to go to in 2016 up in Toronto called the World Cup, which, by the way, was some of the most fabulous hockey that I've ever witnessed in person because you could just feel the intensity. So, yeah, they decided to do this 4-team nation thing, Canada, United States, Finland, and Sweden. Obvious notable exception, Russia not being there because of the political climate and everything like that, or even a world team. You could comprise, guys from, say, Czech Republic or Germany or Slovakia, whatever the case may be. So they limited it to just the 4. I think part of this was to get people fired up for the Olympics next year, which is in Italy. So you're going to have that. And then 2028, they're bringing back the World Cup. And I'm hoping to definitely go to that. So you referenced, obviously, what happened on Saturday. And, hey, listen, maybe those clear-thinking folks in the United States are saying, you know what, maybe it wasn't the classiest thing to do, but there may be an undercurrent of like, yeah, we get it. We understand. So, maybe that's where the, sort of the compromise, if you want to call it that, would be in terms of the anthem. But to the game itself, it was clear the Kachuk brothers, Matthew and Brady, of course, you're familiar with Matthew down in Florida, and JT Miller, they wanted to stir the pot. They had, I guess, a text thread going. So they wanted to establish the fact that they were not going to get pushed around against Team Canada. Now, they fell down 1-0. Connor McDavid blew by Werenski and Charlie McAvoy to get the first goal. But then McAvoy, the outstanding defenseman of the Boston Bruins, laid out McDavid on a very clean hit, and it changed the tenor of the game. Gensel scores after that, and then the United States dominated play, and they set the tone. But heading into this championship game, some significant happenings here. It looks like both Kachuk brothers will play, although Brady was banged up last night. Matthew was banged up on Saturday. I don't think either one's going to be 100%, but the ace in the hole here is McAvoy, who I mentioned plays for the Boston Bruins, of course, the game being in Boston. He was admitted to the hospital late last night and apparently has some upper body injury. It's serious enough that he's not going to play. So this is where I'm going to get, now hopefully not too lengthy here, but like Canada had some issues with trying to get a defenseman because Makar missed one of the games in this tournament. And apparently whoever's the ruling body of this wanted to limit the number of players that you could actually have. So in other words, if somebody got hurt or was ill, you basically have to go through an act of Congress to try to get them on the team. And this is what the United States is going through right now. Quinn Hughes, the outstanding defenseman of the Vancouver Canucks, is en route to Boston. And whether he can play or not, Hack, remains to see. In other words, if the United States has 6 healthy defensemen, then Hughes will not be able to play. So you're wondering now, if you're Mike Sullivan, you're the coaching staff there, all right, maybe this defenseman looks a little bit, fluish tonight, or he's got a little bit of an ache going. Do you scratch him and then put the ultra-talented Hughes in? That's something what Canada, like I mentioned, had to do the other night. U.S. is in that same scenario. So McAvoy, a physical presence, that's going to be a big loss for Team USA Thursday night.
Final moment, Zig Fracassi, Sirius XM NFL and Sirius XM NHL Radio. Zig, as we begin to wrap up, I would imagine the powers that be in the National Hockey League have to be loving this. Like we said, people love a good reality TV story, right? And I don't know how many people are going to break down like you are. I mean, you're passionate. You work for Sirius XM NHL Radio. The X's and O's of these games. But I can assure you, in my group of friends, which a lot of them are not hockey fans, they took notice of the U.S. and Canada on Saturday night and what happened in the first minute with those fights. And it's going to be appointment viewing for them on Thursday in the championship game there in Boston. So I imagine the NHL community, the hockey community at large, has got to be loving this exposure.
Oh, absolutely. And you juxtapose that to the NBA All-Star game, which is basically a glorified, rec game, and all the negative, attention that got. Like, the players don't actually care, and all the sideshow and everything like that. I remember one time, Hack, the NBA All-Star game actually used to be worth watching. But what happened there in the end is it just didn't get interesting anymore. And now the players don't care. But then when you watch something like this, where you got McAvoy laying out McDavid, and things like that, even some of my non-hockey friends had saying, man, this hockey's intense. So it always has been, it always will be. But I always tell people it's probably never going to maintain, the popularity it should, simply because it's not an American sport. It wasn't born in this country, and it's not marketed correctly. You could go into a deeper discussion. Maybe there's not enough Asians or blacks or other minorities that are involved in the game. That could be another of the issues as well. But again, it's the greatest game on earth. You got to play this up and down a 200-foot sheet of ice on skates, constant shifts, and take physical hitting. And oh, by the way, if you want to be really ballsy, try to block a 100-mile-an-hour slap shot that might be coming to your goalie. But it's terrific. And again, I think we're going to get a really good game on Thursday night. And then I think it'll be a nice precursor, not only for the Stanley Cup playoffs that come up in a couple of months, but also when the Olympics roll around next year.
You can hear Zig Fracassi on both Sirius XM NHL Radio and Sirius XM NFL Radio. And Zig is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Zig, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. As always, pal, we'll do it again soon.
Heck, anytime. And if you want to get me on X, it's at Zig Sports Voice. I always love interacting with the folks like yourself.
And thank you to Zig Fracassi, Sirius XM NFL and Sirius XM NHL Radio for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Always enjoy talking with Zig about the Jacksonville Jaguars and obviously everything that's transpired from Liam Cohen to Tony Baselli to the ongoing general manager search. And I also wanted to get his take. He's one of the best hockey guys that I know. He's been with SiriusXM NHL radio for years. Boy, that U.S.-Canada thing, that was interesting on Saturday with 3 fights in like the first 10 seconds, the whole controversy on the booing of the anthem and everything that's gone into that, and then a rematch tomorrow night in this Four Nations tournament. Look, I didn't know anything about this thing like 2 weeks ago. Honestly, I'll shoot you straight there. I had no idea. But then that situation on Saturday happened in Canada, and what a scene that should be tomorrow night as the U.S. and Canada have a rematch in Boston to win this Four Nations tournament. So that should be quite the scene again up there tomorrow night, and appreciate Zig Fracassi for joining us here tonight on Hacker After Dark. So we spent some time on that, but as you can imagine, a majority of it was on the Jacksonville Jaguars, the GM search, the second round of interviews officially started today. You would think by, Saturday, probably, Sunday at the latest, we will know who the next general manager is here in Jacksonville. And obviously, we also talked about the Florida Gators, a win last night over Oklahoma. The Gators now 23-3 in college hoops. They are a consensus number 1 seed on basically every bracketology list out there, and they are ranked number 2 in the land in all the polls. It has been quite the year at this point for Todd Golden and the Florida Gators. Well, that will just about do it. It has been a very busy Wednesday night here on Hacker After Dark. And for Baloo, we certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us. We got a bunch of people to thank. Again, Zig Fracassi of both SiriusXM NFL and SiriusXM NHL Radio for joining us. Thank you to Chris Harry, FloridaGators.com. Always enjoy getting Chris on to talk Gator basketball. I appreciate his perspective tonight. And back in hour number 1, my buddy Gene Fournette of the Florida Times-Union, Jacksonville.com. Always enjoy talking with Gene about everything going on with your Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, we will be back tomorrow night, and we will do it all over again beginning at 6 o'clock. JJ LaSelva was your producer tonight. JJ, great job as always, brother. Always appreciate you. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending part of your Wednesday evening with us right here on Hacker After Dark, on 1010XL, and on 92.5 FM. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Wednesday evening, and we will talk to you again tomorrow night on a Thursday beginning at 6 o'clock. Until then,